Well, how do you do, folks? My name is Skybreak, and today we are going to be breaking down my track, Wildfire, featuring Millennial Trash, off my brand new EP, Lumina, on Disciple. So cool, here we are in the project, and we're going to be focusing on the intro and drop today, and fair warning, this might not sound exactly like, the final master, because I mastered the whole EP in one project, and yeah, this is the unmastered version, so enjoy.
Silence absorbs all sound, fade into the background. Watch me burn, watch me burn. What would it take to come around, to get up off the ground? Watch me burn, watch me use me, abuse me, try to take my flame away. Replace me, and I'll never say your name. Gone with the wind, like a leaf from a fire. I'm gone in your wildfire.
God spare my CPU. Yeah, that's about all we're going to cover today. If you want to hear the rest of the song, it might be out now, it might not be, but yeah, go listen to it. So let's just go right into it. So right off the bat, when the drop, I believe it goes da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So we're doing that with the piano. So yeah, we're basically replicating this melody in the intro. That's playing in this piano over here to subconsciously prepare the listener. And yeah, there you go. That's our main piano. And a quick tip when you're writing pianos and stuff like that, just to make things sound a little bit more human. If I zoom in here, as you can see, God, I guess I didn't do too much here, but yeah, right over here, this chord, the strumming sounds super realistic because not even the greatest piano player in the world is going to be able to, hit all the keys at the same time. So in the FL piano roll, if you hold Alt, you can nudge the notes around, and if you use the scroll wheel, make them super loud. Super quiet. And yeah, with a combination of nudging it back and forth and playing with velocity, you can get a really realistic sounding piano, even with the cheap one. Have this little harp here. I believe it's like some kind of general MIDI thing. Sounds cool. What else have I got going on here? Alright, so yeah, I started off with a bang. I got a few impact layers from the Modus Supernova sample pack and just samples I've been collecting over time. Starts right off the bat with that. Yes, and that's the drop synth, but super reverbed and delayed, and it syncs up with this piano. This is something I did a lot in the EP, just super reverbed out, low-passed versions of the drop synths placed through the intro. Let's get into the fun section.
Silence absorbs all sound, fade into the background. Watch me burn, watch me burn.
Yeah, that's James's killer performance. Absolutely killed on this one. So let's break down kind of what we got going on here. So first and foremost, we've introduced this Reese, which is solidifying the chord progression of D, F, G, and then it goes up. But yeah, that is a very simple patch, I believe. Just basic default saw wave, 16 unison, and a sub. And then I've just OTT'd it, and I've low passed it. And then to bring out some a little bit more harmonic content, I've actually thrown a saturator after it. And you're not really going to hear that if you're on headphones or like onto your producer speakers or anything. But it will make the difference if you're listening on like a phone speaker or laptop speaker with not a whole lot of like low end response. It'll start adding these little artifacts to the top so you can make out the sub note. And next, I've got a few brass hits. Couldn't tell you where I got this pack from, but I got it back in like 2017, and I've used it in a lot of stuff. Yeah, so then we're starting to get a vibe here, and then a general MIDI choir with some nice chord voices. Yeah. You guys are going to get a kick out of this. This synth right here, it's a GMS preset called Midnight 1 TE. I think, yeah, it's a preset. I'm sorry. Hold your guns. But I think it sounds really good in this context. It's just soft and sine wavy, and it's okay to use unrecognizable presets. Wouldn't recommend doing it for like basses or anything, but for a little soft synth, you can definitely get away with it, especially if you've got a lot of other things going on. So, yeah, anyone who tells you, oh, you used a preset, well, you suck. You don't have to design absolutely everything in the world to write a good song. Cool, I've got another layer. This is something, a sample I like to use in a lot of my tracks, just, you know, some chimes. It's pretty good. Harp from the intro is still playing, and I believe the piano is as well. But this time with a more driving chord progression. And the velocity's been turned down a bit to make room for the vocals. And yeah, that's pretty much a lot of the intro elements. Let's get into the drums a bit here. What drums am I using? Ah, yes. This is from Decap's Drums That Knock, I believe. Really, really good pack for trap drums. Cannot recommend it enough. I've got a few layers on the snare. I've got this little trap clap. Not much of a clap. It's a bit more like a snare. And another decap snare. Very nice. And an actual trap clap. There you go. Altogether, they just kind of fill out the frequency spectrum. It's pretty good. Ah, yes, and tube kick. And here's a quick mixing tip, which I didn't do here. Had I been making this song today, what I would have done is, right there, hear all that boxy nastiness in the kick? We don't need that, and that's just gonna suck. So sorry, Disciple. You gotta undistribute Wildfire so I can fix this one little issue. But yeah, right there, that boxiness. You can get rid of a ton of that, and it's going to do nothing but make your kick sound a little bit cleaner and open up the frequencies that weren't quite being heard before. Ah, yes, and here's a fun one. I'm using this trap hi-hat called Closed Hat 005 or something, and yeah, what I've done is instead of, you know, doing the good old, because that's kind of boring, we have it on the quarter notes, and instead of like placing the notes, we're letting a delay do the trick. So it just adds that little bit more width with the ping pong delay, and it kind of gives it a bit more of a shakery, whoa, quarter note, and is it late, you know, kind of cool vibe. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, one of the things I did in this track in the writing process of the song, before I got James's vocals or even started writing the vocals, I knew this song wanted vocal. I wanted vocals for this song. So this was actually a production tip from one of Mode Step's top 5 production tips videos from like 2018 or something. It's really old. Josh, if you are watching this video, thank you. You're cool. You're very cool. What I've done here is I put the acapella of my song Clockwork featuring Christian Hayward over the song so I could produce the song as if there were vocals over it already.
A bird song appears, an ocean of tears, and time passes by.
And I kind of made this whole intro section all around that acapella. And that was pretty fun. And that pretty much sums it up for this section. I've got a few atmosphere layers, like something from Superverb, and then some of my own. And a little Cymatics Rain on Roof sample. And altogether, it just starts to create this nice little vibe.
Absorbs all sound, fade into the background. Watch me burn, watch me use.
Right, let's get into the chorus section.
Watch me use me, abuse me, try to take my flame away. Erase me, replace me, and I'll never say your name.
But yeah, so we kind of switched the vibe up here quite a bit. Instead of doing the traditional trap drums or the dubstep E drums in the drop, I've actually incorporated this little orchestral drum hit and this marching band snare. Just gives it that epic vibe. Yeah, definitely a big different vibe just by switching the drums out. Cool. Then I've also got this little piano. Piano changes again. Big fat chords. And I intentionally wrote the melody so it kind of ricochets off it. Like the piano kind of responds to it, so there's like a call, which is James's vocal, and a response, which is the little ba-da-doo, and the doodles on the piano. Pretty cool. Then I've layered it with one of my favorite samples ever, this little crowd clap, Various 2, Crowd 1. This is the non-existent crowd, or hopefully non-existent crowd in this pandemic. I've layered that with yet another clap loop. And another atmosphere. So that way the background is really lush and full. I got this really quiet Celeste lead. I've kind of broken down how I've made this in a few tutorials now. That's kind of become a bit of a signature sound. But yeah, it's very quiet in the background.
Say your name, gone with the wind, like a leaf from a fire. I'm caught in your wildfire.
Cool, and that's the build and drop. I guess the only thing I would say about the build is I'm doing a little bit of a endless smile on the entire sidechain bus. And that's kind of, I know I've gone over how I use endless smile in a very much, in a way it's not meant to be used. But here I'm actually using it in its intended way. I leveled up my production. I basically have this intensity knob slowly increase over the build. Basically turns the whole song into one massive riser and does all the work for me. Cool, let's get into the bass design of this. I did everything in one pattern in this song for some bizarre, unknown reason. But the main patch we're going to want to be looking at right here is, let's mute all of this. Well, first things first, I do a pitch bend up. Dun, da, 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 to kind of build up that hype for that initial impact. And yeah, let's break it down. First things first, let's mute all the effects, of which there are many. And here's what it sounds like with no effects. Awesome. Awesome. Don't even know why I had to process it at all. So there's a lot of cool things going on here. First and foremost, let's mute all these effects. And so we can go through them one by painstaking one. So this all started from this saw wave. And we are automating the octave. So every quarter note, because I really wanted the quarter note to kind of be emphasized in this song, there's a little octave automation. And that adds this little bit of like a glitchy click, which I thought sounded really cool. But yeah, I made a second oscillator as well. This one has 5 unison, and this one's got 1 unison. And this is to make sure both the sides are filled and the mids, which you can do directly in your serum patch. Another fun thing I've liked to do lately, I'm not sure where I found this out, I put a bandpass filter on my synth, and if I turn up the mix the whole way, you'll hear it better. It just gives it a little bit more movement because, you know, it's genuinely just a peak. But if you turn down the mix knob, yeah, you get a little peak that you can include into your sound. And it's not used too drastically here, but that can just give a little bit more val to your basses. Right, then I guess I have a phaser. Doing this automation on the frequency, I find that's pretty fun. Oh, good tip. Turn down the phase stereo to 0 degrees, or else you'll get... what do you know? Phase issues. Then I guess I've got hyperdimension. The size is turned all the way down and the mix turned up just a little. That's to give it a little bit more stereo width, but fairly early in the chain. Man, this bass is going to take like a year to get through. And then some distortion. I'm absolutely slamming it. But yeah, you can start to hear the artifacts of this filter and the phaser come through, as well as the kind of wide-ish tail of the dimension expander. I recommend, yeah, try experimenting with throwing wide effects and comb filters and stuff before a distortion, because you might be pleasantly surprised with the results. What else did I do here? Ah, yes, tonal delay. Tonal delay if I just crank this. Basically what I've done is I've set the left and right to insanely short delay times, and I've put it on ping pong delay, and the feedback is turned up a little bit. And what am I LFOing this with? Ah, yeah, so I'm making it so when the sound is at its peak, there's no tonal delay at all, but when it starts to fade out, the sound starts to fade out a little bit, that's when it kicks in. Then, of course, a compressor. It's put on multiband mode. My God. You know, one thing I love about Vital, it automatically puts it on multiband for you, whereas with Serum, you gotta actually click the button to get that OTT crunchy effect. Vital's really good. I made this song before Vital existed. Cool, and then I'm using this EQ. Same thing as before, just kind of introducing another peak for some weird movements on the quarter notes. And I guess I'm doing something else with a notch as well. What's cool is if you select this middle one, you boost it, you get a free peak. And if you turn it down, it's not exactly a notch because it doesn't take everything out, but it's a significant deep dip in the frequency spectrum, so you can kind of make that for that notchy sound. Cool, let's get into effects. This on its own sounds alright, you know, whatever. But where I think this really shines is in the effects chain. Right. This is where the beefiness comes out. First things first, we have this plugin called Magnetite, which came free with my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 interface. And if you do have this interface, I recommend you try to log into your account because there is a lot of free stuff that I didn't know about, including Magnetite, and I think they even gave out like a free copy of Ableton Lite or something. Like, I still haven't gone through all the redeemables. I should one of these days. Yeah, I got that Magnetite, pretty epic. Real resonator. The kilohertz resonator is really cool. It's like a tuned comb filter, and you can tune it by pitch. It's not as good as the Ableton resonator. You can start implementing a little bit of it, more of a like a flangey tone into your sound and tune it. You don't even need relative pitch. It's all there for you. Cool. Then I've got a frequency shifter. Pretty sure that's just for little doodles. Like that. We're hearing that bass a lot. And just an EQ doing lots of weird cuts and cleanups. A little convolver. Just adds a little bit more room to the sound. And yeah, I think I went over this in a few tutorials at this point. My disperser rack, very, very fun. It's a whopping 12 dispersers, randomly positioned around. I've got some distortion and chorus before it for some width and stuff. And yeah, dispersers are really fun and good to work with. OTT, this is finally the thing that glues it all together. And finally, a little bit of Valhalla room to round it all off and open up the sound. But oh ho ho, you thought that was it. No sir, or ma'am, or whatever you are. I also have this little chime sample. It's a really old pack that he put out when he was still December. And I've just put this through a mountain of effects, you know, some OTT, disperser, reverb, delays, and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just a few layers like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Then I did some expert layering with this. That's a shark snare, I believe. No Skybreak track is complete without using other people's samples. Cool. Layered it with a little clap as well. Just gives it a bit of like an area transient. And this weird FX thing I did in a separate sound design jam, I think. Oh, this is funny. Instead of using a traditional crowd roar in the song, I used the royalty-free, infamous children yay sound effect. It does the job. It's a little bit goofy, and I'm all for it. And then, of course, let's get into the drums a little bit more, like hats and stuff. AU5 ride that I didn't declick originally, apparently, so I've just gone and done that. Live and learn, guys. Live and learn. And this is the main ARP that's kind of filling up the space, rather than doing a traditional, you know, 16th note melody. I decided to go for a more 8th note approach. So it kind of all contributes to that swung vibe. And another thing I like to do is I like to use these little minimal gooey clicks. Just adds a little bit more transient flavor and can overall actually do more for your sound than you think. Much like every other project breakdown I've done, a lot of the sound design-y stuff is done in separate audio jams I made a while ago. That little growl is filling up a lot of space in the sides and kind of acts as another sustain bass layer, where there's quite a few. Got this little on the offbeats. And yeah, this as well. Yeah, I'm just basically manipulating a lot of things I've made in separate jams. All to kind of create a little backdrop for our main sound. Got all these FX things going on in the background, so to support our main thing. Never underestimate the power of a good background. Right, let's go into vocal processing. That's something I very much glossed over for a lot of this breakdown, which is probably relatively important. Cool, so here's what James sent me.
To the background. To the background.
Pretty sure he already put it through some preamps and stuff.
What would it take to come around?
But I just decided to make it a little bit more wide and detailed.
To the
So first things first, a little chorus around 40%. Again, that's really nice for stereo width.
to the background.
A little more saturation, you know, get a little more grit in that vocal.
To the back.
And a glue compressor on the preset vocal lead soft. Very nice preset. I tweaked it a little. You never want to use like a raw preset for a compressor, but they should be used as like guide stones, you know. And OTT, a little compressor as well. This is a really cool plugin actually. TDR Slick EQ. I don't use this nearly enough, but my buddy Lightshard has shouted this out to me like so many times. So yeah, it's basically an EQ with a built-in saturator, but between the different saturation curves, you can choose between the American curve, the British curve, the German curve, and the Soviet curve. And here I'm apparently using German.
To the background.
And it's very nice. It just adds a little bit more color to your EQ that you might not be able to get with something a bit more transparent, like
Background.
with FabFilter Pro Q3.
To the background. To the background.
After FabFilter Pro Q3, which as you can see, I've done quite a few dips in, I have got this slapback delay.
To the background.
And what slapback delay is it's basically really short ping pong delay.
To the background.
Since you're pitching from, or since you're panning it from left to right and left to right, and slowly decaying it, in a more pronounced effect, that would be the traditional, you know, ping pong delay. But here, since we're doing it so fast, it just feels like a kind of old school sounding chorus.
To the back.
And I thought it was a really nice timbre here.
To the background. To the background. Watch me burn. Watch me burn. What would it take?
I don't know. I think it sounds pretty good. But there you have it. That was my track Wildfire, out now on Disciple Records. I'm really proud of all 4 of these tracks. I think it really describes the Skybreak sound, and I've been so excited about this release for a really long time. Disciple has been really, really a great label, not only to watch over time, but to work with. So, yeah. Thank you all so much for your support on everything I've released on this label. Hope you learned something from this, and be sure to stream the heck out of the EP. My name is Skybreak, and I will hopefully be seeing you guys soon.